All right, so let's talk about category B, space margin, skill B6, turn positioning. So what does ICBC say? They say maintain a suitable lane position during your turn and end in the correct lane. Do not turn wide or cut the corner, okay? So when you're coming up to make a left turn, you need to end up in the leftmost lane on the other side of the center divide line here, okay? But also, it's not enough just to end up in the correct lane. We want to make sure we don't cut the center divide line as we make this turn. We don't want to drift over to the right before we make this turn, right? So a correct turn is always going straight into a correct left turn, I should say, is always going straight into the intersection and then turning like so. Very often on the road, you'll find drivers will come in and they'll, as soon as they get here, they start aiming for this place here and they end up cutting this line, or they go wide into the other lane. None of these maneuvers would be acceptable. Neither is swerving into another lane prior to making your turn, okay? So what we say is, if you feel like you can't control the vehicle going into the turn, you may be taking the turn too quick. Try slowing down. For a left turn, usually 20 to 25 kilometers an hour works well. Any faster and you may go wide and end up in the wrong lane, or feel rushed to make the turn quickly and end up cutting the center divide line. Okay, so appropriate speed 20-25 for a left turn usually works nice. Okay, now coming up to make a right turn, we need to turn into the first available lane. So it doesn't matter if you're taking a left here, it's always first available lane. If you're making a right turn, we go into the first available lane, and make sure you're not clipping the curb on the turn. So turn with the curvature of the curb, and if the curb is not curved here, then you need to slow down and try to make the turn a bit slower so you can make that around that corner easily. But make sure, again, don't go wide and go into the other lane, or don't overcompensate for the fact that this is a sharp edge here, if it is, and go into the left lane and then take the turn. And so again, what we say is usually a good speed for a right turn is about 15 kilometers an hour. Any faster and you'll likely feel like you'll feel like you have to go wide, okay? And steer relative to the curvature of the curb. So again, if this edge here is curved, then curve with the curvature of the curb as you go into the turn. But if it's not curved, then we need to come up straight and then take the turn. Steering too quickly may result in striking the curb with your rear right wheel. You can check for curb clearance in your right side mirror as you make a turn. We also don't want to overcompensate for the curb by steering left before entering our turn, as we may run the risk of colliding with another vehicle that is passing by here. Okay, so learning to take those turns at the correct speed so that you're not going wide, you're not going too sharp, you're not cutting the lines on the turns. Whether it's a left turn, you don't want to cut that go into the other lane or cut the center divide line. Same idea here, you don't want to clip the curb or go into another lane before you make that turn.